Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 24 of Tour of Japan. And in this episode we're featuring an iconic vehicle, one of the longest running Super GT cars of the Gran Turismo series, alongside perhaps the Castrol Supra and Pennzoil Skyline. It's the Calsonic GT-R of the R34 generation. It's got a pretty simple livery, very iconic though, just the blue with the logo overlay, and it's a very good car. Straight off the bat, it's always been a very good car. Now, I need to mention that in one of the older episodes of this series, specifically the Zanavi Hiroto episode featuring that Skyline, I believe I mentioned specifically or possibly alluded to the fact that I believe the Hiroto had the highest amount of torque of any of the Skylines. I think I said that, or at least insinuated that. That's not the case, because this car has even more. And that's one of the problems with the way I do this series. I test the car immediately before I tell you guys about it, so I don't really know ahead of time what other cars are going to be like. You can still compare them accurately, and for the most part I do. But in that case, I believed that that car had the highest, but it doesn't. So there you go. Now this car has, as many of the Skylines do have, a 2.7 litre engine. It can be tuned up to 903 horsepower, which makes it one of the higher outputs of the Skyline models. Not necessarily the highest of the Super GT class, but more than enough to get the job done. The torque figure, as I mentioned just now, is even higher than the Zanavi Hiroto GT-R at a huge 961 pound-feet of torque, which is one of the highest of the Super GT class, and it only weighs 1100 kilos, which also makes it one of the lightest cars in the GT500 category. Now the power to weight ratio, not too surprisingly for a low weight high powered car, is very good. 821 horsepower per tonne to be exact. And overall this car, I would say, is a very capable, very good, dependable all-round machine. The PP is not quite as high as you might expect, given its strong all-round spec. It sits at 658. I would have personally expected it to be easily over 660, given the huge torque, the very good weight, and big power. But it's not. And that's actually a good thing. As I've mentioned before in my episodes of various series, having a bigger spec and a lower PP is never a bad thing, really, because that means that you can have more spec and more performance in a lower category, which immediately gives this car an advantage over at least some of its rivals. Now the price is another great thing about this car. It's, alongside many of the other Skylines, a 750,000 credit machine. It's fairly obviously not a premium model, and the value for money is, despite not being a premium, still very, very good. Now, if you're looking for a nice high-definition car with a crisp interior, obviously this isn't the car for you. But if you're looking just for a car that can win, with strong all-round ability, for a good price, then this is a great car for you. Now, this is a car which has one advantage, I would say, above all, and that is most Super GT cars, by far, are specialist vehicles. They specialise in one or two at the most particular areas of where they will really dominate. The Cusco Impreza, for example, dominates handling and grip. Not so much of a straight line machine though, whereas, say, the ASL Garaya is much more of a strong straight line GT300 car rather than pure handling. Not that it's bad at handling by any means, but it's just not a pure handling machine like the Cusco is. The great thing about the Skyline, by extension all of the Skylines and even the GT-R as well, is, like the road car, just how strong it is all round. The Skyline can be used on pretty much any track you need it to go on, and it will perform well. It has lots of grip and very loose handling, more so on this one than the Pennzoil, for instance, I would say. The Pennzoil has a certain amount of weight to the steering, which I personally like. The Calsonic is much more loose in its steering, more playful, which on some tracks is an advantage, especially when you need to flow through corners quicker, say on Sierra or Suzuka. And overall, it's a very fast car in a straight line as well, so you can use it confidently on higher speed tracks, such as Fuji or Motegi, or various other non-Japanese tracks if you plan to use it there. And that's the great thing about the car. You can use it for any track against pretty much any other Super GT car and have a good chance of winning, because it's such a good all-round machine. The only disadvantage to it, I would say, is the same disadvantage that all of the Skylines have. It's a non-premium, and that's a shame. But I think they will probably sort that out in the future. Maybe not on GT6, but at some point. So, if you're looking for a rich visual Super GT machine with an interior, obviously this isn't the car for you. But if you're just looking for a very strong, dependable, capable, all-round machine with no frills, just competition ready and highly competitive, then this is the car for you. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.